Did you know that public speaking is one of the most common fears in today's society? If you are a person who avoids public speaking like the plague, you are not alone. In today's video, I want to help you work towards becoming a better public speaker and make an impact on your audience. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel where we talk about tech, career growth, productivity, and life as a digital nomad. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Shreya and I have 5+ years of experience in the tech industry, and I'm currently based in Seattle, Washington. I'm so happy to have you here today. Today, I want to talk to you guys about public speaking. I want to share some of my experiences with public speaking, as well as some tips that have helped me improve the most. Lastly, before I get started, I would love it if you could consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Alright, all of that being said, let's get started. So let me start off by telling you guys a little bit about my journey to public speaking. First of all, public speaking is a journey. It's never complete. You're never the perfect public speaker. You're never going to be a person that makes 0 mistakes total. It's always a journey, and I think that's really important to remember as we move forward. So my public speaking journey started as a kid when we all did project presentations. I would always be the last person to volunteer to present. There were definitely points when I refused to speak just because I had a paralyzing fear of public speaking at the time. As time went on, I realized that public speaking is inevitable in our careers and lives, and it's going to be extremely necessary to get better at it as time went on. I'm glad I realized this earlier in my career because it gave me time to work on the skill with a lot of flexibility. So in 2020, I actually made it a personal goal of mine, one of my annual goals/resolutions. If you haven't seen my monthly reflection video, I'll enter that here, but I talk about that more there. Basically, in 2020, one of my annual goals was to get better at public speaking. Of course, I wrote this a couple months before the pandemic started, but that didn't stop me from finally signing up for different public speaking engagements and finally owning up to the fact that I had to improve my public speaking abilities in order to achieve the rest of my goals. So today, I'm going to share some of my learnings from 2020 and that journey, as well as some of the things I'm working on now, and some tips for you guys. So the very first tip I have for you guys is to just sign up for a public speaking engagement, whether that be through an application process or you signing up for an event, a panel, whatever it may be. Before you overthink how much you don't want to public speak, just sign up for these events. Out of my personal experience, I noticed that when I wasn't signing up for the events, I also wasn't doing very much to get out of my comfort zone and work on my public speaking skills. Thankfully, when I started signing up for these events, it was kind of like a forced means of making sure that I improved these skills. So that would be my very first tip. My second tip is to know your audience. It's important to remember that you are there giving a public speech for a reason. There is some value that you can add, and this is where it's important to come up with a persona for your audience. So if you're talking to a group of high school students that are considering STEM careers, put yourself in the shoes of one of those high school students. Maybe instead of talking about all of the things that you do for your career that are way over their heads, think about what you would have wanted to know while you were in high school and thinking about careers going forward. The more you cater your public speeches to your audience, the more value your audience can take from it, and the more they'll engage with your speech as well. My third tip is to practice, but not over practice. I found that, for myself at least, when I wrote out every single sentence, every word, every inflection of what I was going to say, I found myself noticing points where I was likely to mess up. And then when I was actually giving those speeches, I would find myself getting nervous as I approached each point. Then, if I did mess that point up, it would only affect my performance going forward in the rest of the speech. My point is, I think it's important to practice a speech, but not to the point where you're beating a dead horse. For me nowadays, what I do for my speeches is I'll do one run through of exactly what I want to say, and from there I have no more than a few bullet points really to go off of. This is just something that's worked for me. If it works for you, awesome. People definitely have their preferences in regards to that, but for me, letting go of the practice of planning out every single word I was going to say and practicing that 10 times, 20 times was just not working for me. My fourth tip would be to record yourself. I know you've probably heard this a million other times. This is probably not the first time you're hearing this tip. Honestly, when I first heard it, I ignored it too. Sounded like a lot of effort. But when I first started making these YouTube videos a couple months ago, I realized exactly what points where I was likely to make mistakes. I started noticing which way my eyes turn when I'm thinking. I started noticing a lot of the little things that might distract your audience, and I really saw some benefit in recording myself when I did choose to practice. My fifth tip is to know that you're there for a reason. It's really easy and common to get imposter syndrome around public speaking, especially when it's already something you don't always want to be doing. But know that the reason why you were chosen to make a speech, or the reason why, for whatever reason, you are making that speech on that day to your audience, it's because whoever planned that event saw your value that you could potentially bring to the audience. So I want you to remember that going forward. In the future, you will very likely be asked to speak to audience where people are mostly senior to you or majority senior to you. Congratulate yourself for being in a position where you can add value to those people and bring it your best shot. All right, my sixth tip for you guys is to reflect after each speaking engagement. If there's a video that someone has already taken, make sure you watch that for any things that went well, things that didn't go well. Even if there's no video, reflect on things that went well and things that you feel that you could improve upon. This will also help you own your style and really understand what your intended style is. It'll help you make changes to your style as time goes on as well, and it helps you generally document that journey of public speaking we talked about at the beginning of this video. So closing thoughts, have fun out there. Seriously, if you're not having fun, it shows. And it'll show in the way that you answer questions at the end of a speech. It'll show in the way you handle mistakes you may make in the middle of a speech. And the audience can pick up on that, and you may end up making the wrong kind of impact. So here are some ways that you can make sure that you enjoy yourself. One way to make sure that you have fun at these public speaking engagements is to only choose engagements where you're talking about topics that you truly enjoy, or be part of organizations and speaking engagements for efforts that you care about, impacts that you actually want to make. Even if public speaking is not something you're super comfortable with, what you can do is put yourself in a surrounding where you are passionate, excited, and enjoy being in the actual surrounding. Be that in terms of the people around you, the content that you're talking about, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, I want you to set yourself up for success. All right, hopefully this video was helpful for you. I really enjoyed making it, as always. Thank you so much for sticking out to the end. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you next week on Thursday. Bye.